Hey everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About, where every single week I talk about a movie, a TV show, a video game, a Broadway show, or anything that's on my mind. So on this episode, I'm talking about the Cher show, the musical All About Cher, which is currently playing at the New Assignment Theater in New York City. So before I get started on that, if you want to follow the show on Twitter, if you want to follow kind of everything that's happening, not only with this, but other stuff I'm working on, at KE Present on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can get updates on everything there. So, yeah. Now, let's get started.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I'd take back those words that hurt you, and you'd stay.
Okay, so before I start talking about the show itself, how about a little brief overview of the show? So, the Cher Show tells the life story of Cher, highlighting the 6+ decade career of the Oscar, Emmy, and Grammy Award winner. Three actresses play Cher from her humble beginnings and the start of Sonny and Cher, to, of course, Sonny and Cher's success, to kind of everything that happened after that, and then to the pop goddess warrior that she is today. Now, the characters' names are Babe, Star, and Lady, and I'm of course going to talk about that a little bit later on. The musical features a score consisting of over 30 of Cher's biggest hits, including If I Could Turn Back Time, Half Breed, I Got You Babe, Song for the Lonely, I Found Someone, and of course, Believe. It also features incredible costume designs by Bob Mackie. He honestly recreated some of Cher's most iconic looks in the show. So yeah, so that's kind of a little brief overview of what the Cher Show is. Now, let's talk about the show. So let's start with the cast. So the cast is led by Stephanie J. Block, who plays Star, Teal Wicks, who plays Lady, Michaela Diamond, who plays Babe, and Jarrett Spector, who plays Sonny Bono. Now, I'm going to start with Sonny, because Sonny is a little bit in the show, but he is a huge significant in Cher's life. Jared does an incredible job as Sonny Bono. He literally sounds like Sonny when he's singing, when he's talking. It's just really jarring when you see it alive. It's like, oh my god, like he sounds like Sonny, which is really crazy. It's like almost Sonny possessed him almost. And it's funny because Jared has played all of these roles that people know of, like of course Frankie Valli, and then one of the songwriters from Beautiful, which I'm kind of blanking on the name right now. Not Jerry Goffin, the other guy, but he does an incredible job embodying these characters, and it's just crazy, especially when he and Michaela sings I Got You Babe. It's like seeing Sonny and Cher singing in front of you, which is like unbelievable. Yeah, but speaking of Cher, Michaela Diamond, she breaks out in this role as Babe. Now, she is the youngest of the cast. She's 19 years old. This is her Broadway debut. I remember when I was 19, I was in college. I was like not sure what I was going to do with the rest of my life. Like I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do after college. She's basically starring on a Broadway show, kicking butt 8 times a week. And she is doing an incredible job at it. She is incredible in that role. She plays Cher from, I think, 4 to kind of right before, of course, Sonny and Cher became Sonny and Cher. Like they had I Got You Babe, but they weren't really this huge household name yet because of the Sonny and Cher show. But yeah, she does incredible, especially I Got You Babe, and then The Beat Goes On, which is like her big solo number in Act 2. Teal Wicks, she plays kind of that middle person, Lady. So this is when Sonny and Cher becomes, well, Sonny and Cher, of course, the show and everything. The interesting part is that Teal's character has to deal a lot with the more emotional, more, I would say, breakthrough-esque moments, because she kind of deals with Sonny when Sonny kind of quote-unquote steals her money, because he leaves her penniless, because he owns 95% of Cher Enterprise, and then the lawyer owns 5%. Cher owns nothing. So it's interesting that Teal plays not only the fun parts where she is in Vegas and they're basically becoming these kind of quote unquote house no names if you think about it in the Sunny and Cher, but then at the same time, she also gets to play these kind of harder scenes where she tries to deal with should she leave Sunny? If she leaves Sunny, what will happen to her career? So it's kind of an interesting thing that they gave a lot of the emotional parts to Teal's character and to Stephanie's character, who is incredible in the role. I honestly wish there was a little bit more of Teal Wicks, and I think from what we were given of her, she did a great job. But yeah, on to, of course, the star of the show, Star. Stephanie J. Block embodies Cher, if you think about it. She gets the voice down. It's like really crazy. It's like you would think she was doing a caricature of her, but she, honest to God, nails the performance, nails the voice and everything. I remember like one of the interviews she did. I think she did like a few interviews talking about it. She was like whitening her teeth or something, and basically like one day like her tongue hit the top of her cheek, no, top of the teeth, and right there is where Cher came to her, which is like really crazy. Like then she had to figure out like everything without all the stuff in her teeth.
I was bleaching my teeth, and all of a sudden I was saying my lines, and I started to read my lines, and I was talking. I was like, oh my God. And my husband said, Stephanie, you found the voice. And I was like, what are you talking about? I sound like Cher? It's happening? And it all happened from bleaching my teeth. So I had to remove the strips and find out how to, do all of that without that strip.
It was the way the tongue touched the top of your mouth.
Correct. And the way my upper lip was kind of covering and lubricating my teeth. And then all of a sudden, Cher just started to happen.
It's kind of cool because when you're playing a person, I don't think you want to play a caricature or a parody of it. You want to do the voice, but at the same time, you want to tell the story. You want to make sure that every single night, the person that comes to see the show, you are seeing kind of Cher on stage, and she does that. That's why she won the Tony. She won the Tony because she embodied who Cher was. She nailed Cher as her highest highs and then as the lowest lows. Like her musical moments, especially the Way of Love in Act 2 and You Haven't Seen the Last of Me, her vocal performances of those were amazing. And I think that's what won Stephanie the Tony after all of these years that she's been nominated. And another amazing moment that showed her playing Cher with vulnerability and all of that was Sunny's funeral. The eulogy that Cher gave, she recites 8 times a week. And then she goes into kind of this trying to figure out what's going to happen to her the rest of her life. Because at the end of the day, we know life isn't life. Like, we know that something's going to happen to us eventually. And it's really kind of the most darkest part of the show, if you think about it. But it's such a great performance she gives every single night. And I remember when I first saw her, I was like, if she doesn't win the Tony, I don't know what to do. Because she embodied Cher. She was Cher. So from the cast, let's talk about the score. The score features some of Cher's biggest hits, and one thing I have with the jukebox musicals are they will always find a way to shoehorn some of the bigger hits or like some of the hits when they make no sense in the score. Here in the Cher show, I feel like none of them kind of had that thing. I think a few of them felt a little weird, especially like Gypsy Tramps and Thieves, which was an interesting song choice, but I felt like them putting it with the quote-unquote Cher show, the variety show she did after Sunny and Cher, I think that was really smart. Another song that was kind of interesting, Dark Lady, sung by Greg Allman and Sonny Bono, that was really kind of cool. I have to say the dancer is amazing in that. The song choice was, to be honest and to be frank here, it was really interesting to say the least, but if you watch that performance, it's amazing. Some of my favorite overall parts of the scores are when they use the songs to kind of fit the thing that's happening. So like Half Breed, when Michaela, who's apparently 4 years old, is being sung to by her mother, and then later on Stephanie and Teal sings the version that everyone knows, and then you have I Got You Babe, which is arguably one of their biggest hits of their lives. That was performed in Europe. So I feel like the way that some of these songs are used is so great that it felt like it could have been a traditional Broadway score. And then there was others that were like, okay, this song I don't mind. I just wish it was something else. I felt like the last two songs of the score, You Haven't Seen the Last of Me and the finale, are my two favorite numbers from the show, because they use You Haven't Seen the Last of Me as an amazing 11 o'clock number, and then the finale is such a great way to kind of like celebrate Cher and to celebrate her career post Believe, which is like, you have Strong Enough, you Haven't Seen the Last of Me, you have Woman's World, you have a little bit of All or Nothing, and then you have, of course, Believe in It, which is like such a celebration. And then like, wait, you went on a farewell tour, I forgot about that, like, are you still on that? And it's like, you think about that for like 2 seconds, and like, it's just like a dance party at the end, which is kind of what Cher is. It's like a dance party. But yeah, besides that, I have no complaints on the score. The score is my favorite part of that whole musical, because it's just a fun 2.5 hour show of like Cher music. So from that, let's talk about the other main part of the Cher show, and that is the costumes, the costume designs from Bob Mackie. Over 600 costumes. Let that sink in for a second. Over 600 costumes are featured in this musical, and Bob Mackie, I have to hand it to him. He does an incredible job. He recreates some of Cher's most iconic looks from the Sonny and Cher show, from the Cher show, from Cher's tours and music videos and all of that. If I'm not mistaken, Stephanie opens If I Could Turn Back Time with the iconic look that Cher had. And then in Act 1, there's a song called Ain't Nobody's Business, which is kind of like Bob Mackie's big number in the musical. You see some of the most iconic looks of Cher's history. You get looks from the actual show. You have looks from her tour. It is incredible how amazingly designed the looks are, how they look almost like what Cher wore. Like, so you had like The Beat Goes On, which showed off the Oscar looks, including the one with the mohawk, where she was like kind of wearing almost nothing, if you think about it. And it kind of shows you how much detail and how much costumes are needed in this show, because one thing we know about Cher is her incredible costume designs. That was the main part of Cher. That was like who Cher was her costumes and her music and all that. So well done to Bob Mackie, because that was the show-stoppingest moments of the whole show, is these iconic looks recreated for the Broadway stage. So yeah, I kind of want to just talk about the show as a whole right now. It's interesting because I saw the show twice, and I saw it with two different leads. I saw it with the understudy once, and I saw it with Stephanie. The one thing I definitely can say about the show is that it's such a fun night out. If you're having like a hard day at work, if you just want to like relax and just like have fun at the theater, the Cher show is such a great way to go, because it's honestly Cher. I mean, you're going to, of course, get a lot of the hard times and everything, the down times and everything, but at the end of the day, Cher music is uplifting, it is emotional, it is inspirational at times. It's just so much fun. That's kind of the ultimate thing I would say about the show, is that it's so fun that you, like, if you're going in and you're like hoping for something like, oh, she's gonna say something horrible about Sonny, or she's gonna say something horrible about her ex, or something like that, there isn't any of that. There's no bashing Sonny. Yeah, Sonny did fuck her over, but at the same time, she doesn't say anything bad about Sonny, which I think kind of shows you Cher as a person, that even though her and Sonny's marriage didn't work, she doesn't want to badmouth Sonny at all, which is really cool. One of my also main points that I do have against the show is that the pacing of the show is a little 50-50. Act 1 definitely feels a little bit more fluid. Act 2 just felt like, okay, we need to really end the show. We need to still go through her going to Broadway. We need her going to become an actress. We need her with her 20-year-old boy toy. It's like, okay, we get it. But how about pace ourselves here a little bit? Did we need the infomercial? I honestly will say, how freaking yeah, we did. Honestly, I will say this. One of my favorite moments from Act 2, honestly, was the infomercial, just because it does show that shift, because like earlier in Act 2, she won the Oscar, and then she got sick, and then she had to do infomercials. And I love how they were making fun of that moment in Cher's career, which is funny because I didn't even know it until I went home and I looked this up. I was like, holy crap, Cher actually did sell Hairspray. It's like, wow. But yeah, going back to the pacing issue, the Cher show is so much fun, but at the same time, you're telling a story. One thing I wish they did, especially in Act 2, was that instead of like bringing in the other characters that needed to come out, like Lucille Ball and Greg Allman, is that they still fleshed out the story a little bit more. Because I felt like we were just going from point A to point B to point C to point D to point E, like turning and turning and turning and turning, and like how are we getting from point A to point B to point C to point D? There were parts early on in Act 2 that was fine. It felt like it was near when we got to Sonny's eulogy and when we got to Sonny's funeral. That was the part that I felt like, okay, so how did Sonny die? I mean, they did explain it, but I was like, I wanted to know, like, how did she find out? Because the way that they basically kind of showed it, and just as a little spoiler here, is that Sonny walks back out and they start talking, and then Stephanie's character, and the star actually just starts saying, "Are you really dead?" It's like, okay. Like, I wish there was a little bit more to that. I just wish there was a little bit more build up to that. I know it's not the Sonny show, but I was like, I honestly wish there was a little bit more build up to the eulogy, to the funeral. I wanted a little bit more in terms of the pacing, in terms of the book. But besides that, overall it's a fun night. It's just a great, great show. So yeah, I mean, honestly, if you want a good time, if you want to have fun at the theater, this is definitely the show to check out. One last thing I do have to say about the show, which sadly enough is closing soon. It's closing on August 18th. I thought the show would probably have lasted maybe a year on Broadway, but I love that it's going to be going on a national tour soon and all that. So hopefully the show does live on, and that everyone who gets a chance to see it, they see it and they can enjoy themselves. Because honestly, the Cher show is they're not reinventing the Broadway wheel. It's all about having a good time, all about loving yourself, all about feeling like a pop goddess warrior. And god darn it, to be honest, okay, I wasn't feeling like a goddess warrior, but I was having a good, fun, darn time at this musical, and you should too. If you are in the New York City area, check out the Cher show playing at the New Simon Theater until August 18th. So that does it for this Let's Talk About. I do have a question for you guys. What is your favorite Cher song? And what artist would you like to see have a jukebox musical? I mean, there's a lot more coming out. Let me know on social media at KE Presents or at my own personal Twitter account at Kevin_ENG. Until next time, keep on talking.
Haven't seen the last of me.